The topic of today's class is repurposing, how to get more out of the content you're already creating so you can redirect that time to focus on bigger, greater priorities. I want to show you how I would repurpose one sentence into 7 different pieces of content so that we can get more out of a single idea across Threads as a platform. And if we can do that, it means that we'll be freeing up time to deliver things to our clients or to focus more on building out your online business or to get more leads, etc. I'm going to go into my analytics and specifically Black Twist, because this is how I'm going to look at 600-day streak today. Look at that. So this is where I'm at. It's been rough for me. I'm just going to address the elephant in the room. What I'm going to be using these analytics for is to look at my top performing posts over the last 3 months. I'm going to filter this based on likes because the view count is not going to be representative of our best posts. It's just going to be representative of the posts that are getting the most eyeballs. But a like is a better indication because it requires a bit more engagement on the part of the reader. So with that being said, let's have a look at this one. Okay, here's a one-liner. And while the view count is pretty good, the likes is pretty good as well. So 359, 60 comments, 35 reposts, 1 share. Now, that is my single idea I'm going to repurpose in today's class to show you how we can squeeze more out of it. Here is our one-liner. As always, if you're able to, I'd suggest you try and follow along with me because that way you're actually going to get some stuff out of this class while we're going, and you won't have to do this later if you want to. So we've got a one-liner. Now, any ideas? What would we do from here? I know I'm putting you on the spot, and I will pick on someone if no one has any ideas. What can we do with this one-liner post to start repurposing it? What would be the next thing that you might do if you were to try to get more out of it?
Oh, hey, can I start?
Go for it, Sue.
Or making it hook for some event which can catch the attention and then start it and use the same storyline to make it convert into a viral form of thread.
Yeah.
Like suppose if example, my boss shouted at me. And then basically using the storyline of how I could handle that episode. And suppose in my term of subject of being mentally resilient in these situations. So that storyline and that mental state I'm able to reproduce. I think that is how I would approach.
You're breaking up a little bit there, but from what I could gather, you're on the right track. You're taking that key idea and expanding it. By the way, what we're doing here, like I heard the other day from Mr. Alex Hormozy, this idea of a content accordion and how over time you can start making more content, the quantity, and then contract that to make less content because you know what works and you go for quality. And then that cycle repeats. So you expand the content and then contract it for quality. I think of the repurposing as an accordion as well, but for a different reason. Right now, what we're doing with our content accordion, with this one idea, is we're expanding it. And as Becca said in the chat, the first way that we can expand it is to turn it into a listicle. So this is what I would do to achieve that. And we have a prompt for this, and these prompts will be available later on. So if I wanted to use this prompt, get up our friend and get Threads GPT up, we've got the same hook because this is the key point. We know that this hook as a one-liner post works really well. So now we just turn it into the hook because we know it will capture attention. And here we're just adding in points about, here's a problem. Don't go for viral content, go for valuable content. And this is what Threads GPT came up with. Delete the explanation for each point, and that will form kind of my first draft. And now I might go and tweak it to make it a bit more me. Solve a real problem, say what others are afraid to say, make it skimmable, teach, don't preach, tell stories, not just facts, give them something to act on, make them come back for more. The goal isn't to go viral, the goal is to be unforgettable. All right, how would you rate this post so far, this listicle, out of 10? Brutally honest. Cool? Yeah, Becca, I agree. 7. Oh, yes, come on. Take a side. 9. Oh, that's very generous.
I gave 8. With your personal touch, 10.
Yeah. All right. You're not going to do a follow-up rating, yes? Going to stick with your 7? Okay. All right. I agree with those numbers there. But I still want to tweak it a bit to make it more me, although this is trained on me already, so it's close. Teach, don't preach. Play the comma there. Tell stories.
Not new.
It rolls off the tongue a bit better. Say what others are afraid to say. Yep, make it skimmable. Welcome, Morton. We are looking into repurposing, how to turn one post or one sentence, technically, into 7 pieces of content. We're turning this one-liner into a listicle. Say what others are afraid to say. Scared, it's a bit more emotionally fueled, and it's less syllables. Afraid, scared. 2 syllables, 1 syllable. Easy to read. Teach, don't preach, tell stories, not news, give them something to act on, make them crave more. Cool, and I'm pretty happy with that. Say what others won't. This is where there's a bit of a trade-off, emotionally charged language versus being concise. It's really difficult to use the emotion while being concise. And that's where you have a bit of a trade-off. It's super important to write concisely on threads, but you also know that it's important to write with emotion and to highlight the stakes. A way of writing with emotion is to show who you are, express your personality. Say what others won't, say what others are scared to say. This is something I've learned only in recent times. 6 months ago, I probably would have just made it say what others won't. But I think say what others are scared to say, it packs a bit more of a punch. It is a great point because there's a lot of nuance there. All right, so from here, what I'll do, go and make it like a cascading listicle. So I'd start from shortest sentence to longest or from longest to shortest. Either one works. And so I had skimmable there, crunchy. That's the word I like to use. And it also piques your curiosity a bit. What does that mean? And maybe that actually gets someone to go and ask in the comments, like, what the fuck is crunchy? And then that's a sort of way for me to engage as well and to encourage engagement. And then I would also make this this help sentence, because right now we've got the hook. Here we've got the hold, which is where we hold attention. And then the last 2 sentences would be what we call the help, which is where you wrap up the whole message of the post in 1 or 2 sentences. And for this one, this is pretty good, but what I'd probably change it to is don't go viral, be forgettable. It's crunchier. It says the same thing in fewer words without compromising on any of that emotion that we were talking about a second ago. And then all I do is just tweak the numbers there. Hopefully this works. Rewrite. So I don't know if it will understand that. Don't let me down, Notion AI. All right. So hopefully you found that process of me tweaking it valuable, because it was already pretty good. You guys rated it between a 7 and a 9, and it's good enough. I still like to just tweak it a little bit so I can infuse my personality with it and give it nice formatting. And this is what we've ended up with. To recap where we're at so far, one-liner is where we started. Now we've turned that one-liner into a listicle because we've used a proven hook and expanded it into these other 7 points. Remember, content accordion. Start with one idea, expand it out to get more from that one idea. Guessing where we're going next. What are we going to do with this listicle to continue expanding it? Oh, yeah, that's the advanced answer. Synthesize, yeah. If we're in full circle, I'd probably get into that. But to keep it nice and simple, because at least in Saints College and just generally speaking, the one-liner, the listicle, and the long form, it just makes sense. The losticle thing, if you're interested. It's not quite as long as a long form post, and it's not as short as a listicle. But yeah, that's a good answer, Sam. What we are going to do, we're going to turn it into a long form post. Okay. These prompts that are on the page, you'll have access to them when the college class is uploaded. At the end, when we go through questions, just let me know if you want them before then, and I'll put them in the chat. We've taken a one-liner to a listicle, and we could have taken it straight to a long-form post, but now let's do a listicle to a long-form. This is the prompt. Take this listicle and develop it into a long-form post in the style of a teacher, storyteller, synthesizer. I'll explain what those are in a second. Expand on each bullet point with explanation or example while keeping the tone engaging and viral ready. A teacher is, think, a step-by-step process. So if I'm teaching someone how to post on Threads, like step 1, draft your idea. Step 2, write your idea. Step 3, edit your idea. Step 4, format your idea. Step 5, post it. And those ideas, or rather those steps, need to happen in that order for it to be effective. That's what a teacher post is. It's a step-by-step process. Storyteller, you tell a story. Synthesizer, it's essentially the same as a teacher, but the steps that you're referring to, or rather the things you're referring to, don't need to happen in that exact order. This would best fit a synthesizer post because I could do any of these things in any order and it would still make sense. Dropping too much fire in this class, had to take a break, couldn't handle it. Appreciate it.
I just got a call, sorry. Yeah.
All right, cool. So once again, I'm going to go over to Threads GPT, and quick side note for this, if you are using a custom GPT or really just ChatGPT in general, I've found that when it comes to writing a long form post, it's actually really useful to have a dedicated chat for that because it remembers the chat history and it knows what you like. And that's been our experience inside of Full Circle with generating long form posts. Really helpful. Saves a lot of time. So this.
Yeah, I usually train it with at least 7 long threads.
Yeah, nice. And that's with Threads GPT. Remember that it's already been trained on hundreds. But you might want to give it some even more specific examples that might be relevant to what you post about.
Okay.
I'm just trying to find my chat teacher. Oh, there it is. Cool. Okay, here we go. Take this listicle, develop it into a long form post in the style of a synthesizer, expand on each bullet point with explanations or examples while keeping the tone engaging and viral ready. So that is just, it's a pretty basic prompt and it will get you a really good result. But as we probably know, the more specific you are with the prompt, the more it stands out. Because I truly believe that the new writing is prompt engineering. And the better you can prompt, the better your outputs will be, and then the less work you have to do afterwards, like we saw with that listicle a moment ago. It was already very close. So I mentioned that because this is something that I've been enjoying lately. Use my formatting and writing style, unique language. Pair it with Naval Ravikant's wisdom, Alex Hormozi's clarity, teaching style, frameworks, James Clear's utility and simplicity, Dan Coe's philosophy, emphasis on pain points and benefits, vivid mental movies. Ensure the writing's infused with radical authenticity, vulnerability, rawness, and emotion. Imagine if we just left it here at this versus having it like this. It's a big difference. Let's see what we get. Any questions so far about this repurposing process, how I've gotten to this point so far? Concerns? Now's a good time. Little intermission. Interesting. Okay. In doubt?
That does happen sometimes.
Yeah, that's never happened to me before.
Oh, really? It happened to me for quite a few times.
All right. Okay. Second time lucky. Better. There we go. All right. So we've got the same hook. We know this already works because it was a one-liner. Then it goes into a little bit of extra stuff. So fuck viral content, make it valuable. Virality fades, impact lasts. I would probably delete that second line because it's just saying pretty much the same as the first, but differently. Here's how to make it unforgettable. Then we go into make it crunchy, teach, don't preach, solve a real problem, tell stories, not news, make them crave more, give them something to act on, say what others are scared to say. Here's a TLDR.
Let's make it unforgettable. It's like you're working with them.
Yes. Okay. All right. Let's have a look. See what it looks like. Cool. Make it crunchy. Was that in the last one or?
No,
it was in the hook.
Hook, yeah.
Okay. So here's my concern, because you were saying, let's make it unforgettable. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, that's right.
My only concern would be that it's not as clear that it's actually a long form post with that phrase,
Alright.
because on the feed, you wouldn't actually see this next post. So you would just see, because I'll delete that. So the colon helps because it does just tell you, all right, there's stuff beneath it. I'm just, I think that this second sentence more clearly says there is stuff beneath this hook and you should tap further to get that stuff. To be honest, I'd say you've got your finger on the pulse on threads a bit more than I do recently. So take what I've said with a grain of salt. Bottom line is
the best thing is we can try both and see how it works.
Exactly. So this is either one of those hooks. Honestly, it'll be good. So then obviously we can't do the different kind of formatting with bold and headings on threads. So I'm going to remove that. And then we've got our post. And to be honest, it's just a bit long, because even though it looks pretty decent now, when we put this into threads and the preview window and we see it, as you probably know, it does look much longer on mobile, and we don't want to overwhelm our readers.
What is a decent number of threads, subthreads?
Yeah, that's a great point. As you remember when we had that onboarding call with Deep?
Okay. I have the screen up. Do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, if you would be so kind. Yeah, thank you.
Where were we?
Oh no. Now I've lost the ability to see your screen as well.
One sec. I will find out based off your screen. I can't see your screen.
So what I was going to do was just make it shorter. Sam, you had a question about the ideal number of mini posts. What were you saying?
Yeah, that's right.
What is the number? Yeah. The longer it is, the harder it is to keep everyone's attention. That's the general rule. It's a gamble, because the longer you make it, the more effort you put into it. But if that effort pays off, you're able to build more trust and authority. As a general rule of thumb, I like to have between 5 to 7 main parts of your post. So you've got your hook, and then 5 to 7 hold mini posts, and then 2 to 3 help mini posts after that. The first one is going to be some kind of summary. The next one is probably going to be a CTA to subscribe to the newsletter or community. And then the last one, a CTA to follow you. And that's the sweet spot.
Yeah, good.
So what I would do here is go and make it even shorter. There's this button inside of ChatGPT where you can click make it shorter, and it would condense it, because what we see here is it's just a little bit too long for a standard mini post inside of threads. After that, I'd probably schedule it, make it a little bit different, incorporate some of those tweaks, infuse a bit of my personality into it. But it already does have that vibe in there, because I've trained it to do that, and I specifically provided for that in the prompt. So hypothetically, I'm just trying to work with what we've got here because of my failing computer. It's literally a MacBook Pro from 2021. I have no idea why this has happened, but anyway, might have to update it. Yeah.
It can't be anything to do with the trackpad, because if it does move and if it doesn't click, that means the UI is failing.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, it's good to know.
Maybe driver update also will help. We do have that issues with trackpads I recently had. Just updating the driver of the mouse or from the Mac website.
Hey, this is helpful stuff. Thanks, guys. What I would be doing from here and I don't have access to the chat, so I would love if you could let me know if anyone has any thoughts. So far, we've turned it into 2 pieces of content. We've gone from the one-liner to a listicle to a long-form post. What could we do with it next? And just to check in with where we're at, we've got 3 posts, and what we want to do now is probably make it like get to 7. And I'll just verbally explain how I'd go about doing that. And if I can actually, all right, cool. Can you still see my screen?
Do you want me to stop sharing mine?
Let's see how it goes. I might get you to share it again. If I can show it and navigate the page I'm on, I just can't go back over to Threads or to see the Google Meet. So now let's take it. As Sam was saying, we can turn these into their own posts, each one. Let's have a look at the first one, for example. This is our first mini post.
Based on what I'm seeing now, you definitely will need to update your Mac. Even the actions are working. That means it's a UI issue.
Yeah. It's happened to me before, the second time in the 4 years I've had this laptop, and it happens to be live on a call. This is our first mini post. Assuming that we've made this shorter, vague shit gets ignored, specific shit gets remembered. How to do it, cut the fluff, use concrete details, give examples. People don't remember concepts, they remember stories after. So I'd delete this, because if this is just going to be one short form post, the examples are going to be helpful in a long form post. Oftentimes, these specific examples are just going to create a bit of clutter. Every sentence should hit. Okay. And if you could please read out the answers. Yes. Rate it out of 10. 10 being amazing, 0 being absolutely atrocious, and 7 not being an option.
Why can 7 not be an option?
Because 7 is you're sitting on the fence. It's all right. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but it's not great. It's just
I thought it was mid.
All right,
It
let's not get
needed
distracted, Yasmin.
lineifying.
I'll give it an 8.
I'll wait for one more.
Rebecca said 9 was reading aloud.
If my mouse could navigate the screens, I would put it into Black Twist preview window and show you what this looks like as an actual post on Threads. And what we would see is the formatting is all over the place, and it just wouldn't look that great. And I know you couldn't really see that because we can just see it on the Notion page as it is now. The lineifying would help.
So in this case, it is a 7.
That's why I gave you 8.
8 is above average. It's great. I would say this is like a 6. With the hook, ironically, I'd say it's a bit too vague. Vague shit gets ignored, specific shit gets remembered. Because in the mini post, you've got the context of what this means. We're trying to create valuable content, so we should be specific. But there's no context if it's just a standalone post. That keyword content, it would be good for the algorithm, but it tells people who like creating content that this is a post that will help you create better content. Cut the fluff, that's good. Every sentence should hit. Use concrete details, don't better hooks. Start your hook with a number, question, or strong opinion. Give examples. People don't remember concepts, they remember stories. Clarity, impact. I'd like to see what this looks like in a preview window on Threads, because the formatting makes a big difference. That's the process I'd go through to turn one of those mini posts in the long form version into its own standalone short form post. I hear a message in the chat, but I can't see it.
No, it's a hand raise.
Sam put his hand up.
Oh, yeah. What was that, Sam?
Yeah, so do we not use the one-liner on there as well?
As an original one?
Yeah.
You could.
Because it's already attention grabbing, and why not?
You're right. So that's what it would look like. I would delete the space between the first and the second sentence. I'd leave this as its own standalone with space above and below. I would have delete the space here, so it is grouped with the first one. Delete the space here and here, so they're grouped with the second one. Delete the space here and here, so they're grouped with the third one, and then leave the space for the final sentence. That way, it helps the reader understand that these specific points are grouped with these items. It's a way to structure it visually. Cool. And
do you use that many emojis?
Here's what I've been thinking recently, leaning towards minimal. Because actually, I might not put it to you. Why do you think I'm leaning towards that?
Because generated content.
Exactly. How can we, because I've changed my opinions on this since day one on Threads. Initially, I was very anti-AI, but at that point, it was GPT 3.5 or maybe even 3. Very different. And now I'm all for it. And I've got my own custom GPT. And I think you either use it or you get left behind. But how do we stay ahead of that curve? This is where it's really important to notice what everyone else is doing and try to do it a little bit differently. The way we do that, especially inside a full circle, we've got the custom GPT, we've got the prompts, but then you've got those little tweaks in the prompts, like I showed earlier. I don't know if it's actually still here. No, it's not. About the whole infuse it with my personality and a blend of this person and this person. That's one way we can make it a bit different and uniquely us. The other way is if all of the posts are using lots of emojis, then dial it down to use like minimal or no. So I still will use some because I genuinely think they help the reader engage with the content more and visualize it. It's much easier. I think more people are visual learners than learners by the written word. You don't want to disengage the reader by making them think this is unedited AI content, but you also don't want to disengage the reader by not having it visually appealing. So it's a hard balance to strike.
I agree because I've seen this and I've started to edit it, use emojis where necessary, like certain emojis that ChatGPT use, and over the time you'll know what they are and you can change it based on that.
100%. So, for example, like instead of using the rocket emoji, use the eggplant emoji. What's something that's so outrageous that ChatGPT at this point in time would not be using it? Honestly, that's a really key point. What are those little indications in your writing that you can subconsciously communicate to the reader?
Yeah.
Anyway, this is what we've got. Hopefully you can see what I was referring to there. It looks pretty nice and it's quite inviting to the reader. As Sam was saying a moment ago, we could just use the same hook. And to be honest, on second thought, why not? All right. So that is a fourth post. And then I would go and repeat that process for 2 more. I could do it for all the other ones if I wanted to. So I would end up with 10 separate pieces of content from what was originally that one sentence or that one post. So if I wanted to, I'd do the other 6. And then what I would do is probably end up with a one-liner again. This is an even shorter version. And remember, by this point, it's probably been at least a month from the moment you posted the first version of it over here to then going to share this version of it here, then writing the long form, repurposing the mini posts into short forms. And by the time you get to a one-liner, it's repeating what you're saying. Repetition is one of the best ways to remember. And it becomes part of your brand almost, because these are the points that resonate with people, because we've already seen that through the data. Question?
It's Sam.
Yeah.
Sam.
You said the last one-liner will come after 1 month. What kind of a break would you give between those posts? Because let's say if you post a long thread and most of these things are already there, how long would you wait till you post one of those mini posts that you got out of the long thread?
Look, to be honest, a week?
Yeah.
3 days? It does not matter. Like, people do not care. I guarantee you, I would be shocked. I posted that long form today, and then tomorrow I posted this short form, and someone actually noticed.
Makes sense.
1, the formatting is a bit different, and I've tweaked it. But 2, you highly overestimate how much people care about the content you post. People do not care because they just skim them. Even if they do read them all word by word, are they really going to remember what you've said in 24 hours when they've got so much other stuff going on? So you're changing the formatting, and to wrap up, and then I'll address the question. By the way, Becca, I hope you don't mind. We'll obviously jump over to our call in a couple of minutes, but just as we're coming to a close, hope you don't mind going over time, just a minute or two.
She put a thumbs up emoji, by the way. I know you can't
cool.
see it.
Yeah, cool. So what we've done here is we've gone from one-liner to a listicle to a long form to a short form to one, two, three, four, five. Let's just leave it at 5. That is generally the number of mini posts in that hold section, in the middle section, that I like to stick to. 5 is a pretty good one. Go for 7 to 9 if you want. Just remember that the longer it is, the more valuable it has to be, because it's harder to retain people and make them continue reading. So let's just say it's 5, and then we can turn it into a one-liner once again to wrap up. So there we have 3, 8, that's 9. But there's lots of stuff in this long form post that could be repurposed into one-liners. So have a look at this one. Being liked is overrated. Being respected is the goal. I'd say that makes a great one-liner. So you can continue this process as well. So that makes 9, 10, 11, 12, probably do 5, 13, 14, I think so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13. 13. Cool. That's what I would do for a long form post that has 5 mini posts. And what we've done there, 1 sentence, 13 pieces of content from 1 sentence. And then in terms of like how you can separate those out, completely up to you. Honestly, you can't, there's no right or wrong here. It's not if you post the one-liner on one day, let's say it's Wednesday for me, and then I post the listicle version on Friday, nothing's going to happen. Like, I haven't broken any rules. I would say 3 days apart is a good rule of thumb as a minimum. And then 14 days, the longer you wait, the greater the chance, the less the chance is that people are going to get sick of it. But this is a nice way to have a specific time frame if you want those specific details. And what I'll say to wrap up this part before I look at any questions is think about the implications of doing this on a long-term basis. One idea, in this case, 13 pieces of content. If you're posting 3 times per day, over time, this means you're getting between 4 to 5 days of content from each idea you have. And this is how you create a content flywheel so that you don't have to continually reinvent the wheel. You can free up more time to focus on the things that truly matter as you go down this road of online business, such as helping the people that you love to help and hopefully making a bit of money along the way. So that is how I would repurpose posts on Threads.